John Morgan here, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live, our weekly show right here on the internet. And well, this week I'm a little bit late, or about 20 minutes late on getting the, the broadcast started. And that's because I was troubleshooting one of our streaming services. We are now live on all of these services. So Rumble was the one that was a little tricky to get set up, but we're now on Rumble, Facebook, X, and YouTube. And if you check out old episodes of Bob's Live on our website, from here forward, I'm going to start embedding the video from X because it just sizes and plays a little bit better on our website than the YouTube embed does. Um, but I recommend checking out both X, formerly Twitter, and Rumble. They're both great platforms that are really starting to grow and hoping to reach a new audience there. And I see on Facebook we have 9 people watching right now, so now 10. Hello, everybody. And this week, I thought we would take a look at 2024 gardening trends. Of course, we're going to do a little bit more of an in-depth dive in this week's upcoming blog post, but I thought we would take a look at some of the trends that you can expect to see this coming year in gardening. So let's jump right into that. So we've got 2024 garden trends, and right off the bat is this beautiful echinacea that my microphone boom is sort of blocking. We'll just sort of deal with that. I'll scoot over here and get out of the way. There we go. That's a little bit better. But yeah, 2024 gardening trends. There's quite a few trends this year that we need to look out for, and one really big change that affects us all. And of course, I just organized all these slides, and for some reason they're out of order now. So this is going to be fun. I guess we'll hit this one first. Is the USDA hardiness map. So if you don't know what the USDA hardiness map is, it basically tells you what the coldest temperature you can expect in an area is during the gardening season or during the year. And that tells you basically what plants you can grow because phone call coming in. Basically, plants can only survive down to a certain temperature. And that's really the determining line between whether a plant is an annual or a perennial in a specific area. So around here, plants that we treat like annuals are things like garden mums. And they're kind of right on that borderline. They have like a 50-50 chance of making it through the winter. So we tend to treat them as annuals in the landscape. Where something like hostas, they can survive the super cold temperatures. So they're a perennial. They come back every year. So the main difference is this map has been updated. The USDA hardiness zone map is based off of the 30-year average temperatures. And with climate change, the last 30 years has trended a little bit warmer. So now the whole map has been shifted. And generally speaking, based off where you're at, we're about one zone warmer. So I used to be located, I think it was zone 6 or 6B if you split the zones. Sometimes I split them. And now I'm in zone 7A down where I live. And this, I believe, used to be here in Mason. It was zone 6A, and now it's 6B. So, got just one zone warmer. But that's for our area. If you look at an older map and compare places like Michigan, they've had some big changes up there because the northern latitudes are seeing a lot warmer winters than they used to. And now I gotta take a guess of which button to hit. Okay, so here is the updated map for West Virginia, and you can see Mason County. It's kind of split into two parts, and a lot of it's based off of the river because the river creates its own microclimate. So where I live down in Apple Grove, right next to Nucor, that's now Zone 7A. And up here in Mason is now Zone 6B. And the same thing goes for Ohio. Oh, there we go. So the zones have also changed in Ohio, and it's trended a little bit warmer. Carol says, so happy John is back. I'm happy to be back too. Another trend this year is colorful gardens. So mixing in tons of color. A few years ago, I think it was a millennial thing because all of our houses are just monotone boxes. But white gardens were a thing just a couple years ago. And I jumped on the trend that year and only had white flowers in my landscape in the front. Now, my backyard is a different story because I have my meadow garden and it's just a blast of color. But my front yard, I tend to try and follow the trends. That's a mouthful of a sentence. So that year I did white, and I'll show you a trend this year, and I think it's the color scheme that I'm going to go with for my house. But yeah, color is one of those trends this year. Another one is growing your own cut flowers. So I always grow like zinnias and cosmos, but there are specific varieties that you can grow that are more geared toward cutting. And a lot of folks are starting to plant little patches of flowers specifically for cutting. They make a great addition to your vegetable garden. So take a small section of your vegetable garden and plant, say, zinnias or something like that for cutting. That way, when you go out to harvest veggies for a meal, you can also harvest a pretty bouquet for your table. So that is a trend this year. And I just mentioned my backyard. This is my own meadow garden. And meadow gardens are another trend that is really starting to take off. And I would like to say that I contributed to that, but it's really about planting natural plants to your area and creating, kind of a haven for wildlife and pollinators. Oh yeah, she's saying she wished her garden looked like that. She lives in Rockport. Every time I dig a hole, I have nothing but rocks. Um, there's an obvious joke there, Rockport, rocks, yeah. But yeah, that could be rough. If you have rocky soil, something you can do, at least for your vegetable garden and possibly for your flower beds, is look into doing a raised garden and then bringing in some soil that's not as rocky. Um, I switched to raised beds a couple years ago, mainly because I'm getting older and I can't bend over as easily. Yeah, I'm 40 now. Actually, 41. Forgot how old I was there for a second, but yeah, raised beds or something like that can help. If you're trying to till up a large area to do, like, say, a meadow garden like this, I did have to till that soil up to plant those flowers. Yeah, there's really no easy way to go about it. Something you could do is lay out like tarps or something to kill the existing vegetation, and then bring in like a small top layer of soil to kind of help get your plants started. Um, that could be an option with something like that. But yeah, raised beds are a great solution if you have poor soil quality. Another great option that I've covered on our website is straw bale gardening for vegetable gardening. And I showed my meadow. This is just another example of a meadow garden that is a little bit more cultivated. So I would almost say that it's sort of between a meadow garden and also a cottage garden. And cottage gardens are also really gaining in popularity. Um, I know my sister in law last year was texting me questions about cottage gardening, and yeah, it's really taking off as kind of a trend. And a lot of it has to do with maintenance. Cottage gardens and meadow gardens are really low maintenance. You plant the wildflower seeds or you plant clumps of plants, and you tend to go towards stuff that'll reseed and perennials. So the idea is that over time it becomes less and less maintenance. And I just mentioned cottage gardens, and cottage gardens are gaining in popularity. So here we have a beautiful example of a cottage garden, and I see tons of foxglove there. That's kind of the quintessential cottage garden plant. Um, Something to keep in mind if you're planting foxglove, we always get some in every year in containers. And what you want to do is plant them at least 2 years in a row, because foxglove, it is a biennial. So it'll produce seed and kind of seed the ground down below it. So it will come back, but that first year that it comes back, it won't flower. It won't produce flowers until the second year. So if you plant them on 2 consecutive years, or 3 or 4 years in a row is even better, then you're building up alternating sets of plants where one can be just in the growth stage and the other was flowering in the same year. And that way, then you have color every year. And I think this might be my last slide. I think it is. Everything was all shuffled and out of order, but this year's Pantone color of the year is Peach Fuzz. And I have to give Metrolina Greenhouses credit for this image. They posted it on their Twitter account. And yeah, these are all great examples of bringing that tone into the garden. So we've got some beautiful kind of peachy colored calibrachoas there. Some dahlias in the middle that have that, again, that kind of peach color. And then over here on this side, I'm thinking that's like a heuchera or something like that, with peach colored foliage. So you can look at both blooms and foliage for bringing in that peach color. Um, Something else I was looking at was I almost pulled in a photo of an elephant ear that had kind of a peach variegation in it. So those are all great options. Oh yeah, so Stephanie's saying she has raised beds. She usually does container gardens. Lots of vegetation. Rabbits. Rabbits are more destructive than the deer. Yup. I I fight with rabbits in my own garden, and having the raised beds helped for like the first year or so because I don't think they realized that the plants were up there. But now that they do, I'm looking at fencing in my garden area. So that's probably going to be a summer project. I had it on the list for this summer, but um, some of you know the backstory of why I haven't been on the air for a while. But needless to say, I was busy over the summer and didn't get a chance to do it. But I'm shooting for at least a wire fence around my garden. Ideally, I want to do like a nice little pretty white picket fence. Uh, but that's sort of the end goal. But something that you can do to kind of help with rabbits is make sure that you mow out away from your garden. They don't like to cross open spaces. So if you have a lot of tree cover and stuff, that can kind of work against you. Um, you can also use some spray deterrents. I've used that in the past. The only issue with that for both deer and rabbits is eventually they kind of get used to it and they're willing to kind of bear the smell to go in and munch on your veggies. Uh, so yeah, those are all options. So that is kind of a rundown of upcoming garden trends for 2024. Before I head out this evening, I want to take a look at the weather. Normally I wouldn't this time of year, but we've got kind of a storm blowing through right now, and there is a wind advisory for most of the area. So if I jump over here to the advisory map, and we close that, Mason County, and let's see, it's kind of hard to see on this map, but right here is Mason. Most of the Ohio Valley is under a wind advisory. There's a separate wind advisory further west in Ohio toward Chillicothe. If we head up toward Marietta, there's actually a flood warning due to all the rain. And then over north of kind of Parkersburg and Marietta, there's another flood warning. So you might want to batten down the hatches and check out a weather map if you live in this area where there's some flood warnings. And of course, never drive through standing water. That can be really dangerous. And, well, that is all that I have for this week's episode of Bob's Live. Let me check the comments here. Tim Cooper is asking if we have any commercial vegetable plugs. And, of course, we sell seedling plugs through Ball Seed. So, if you're a wholesale customer, you can place an order through Ball. If you're looking for like partial plug trays or surplus trays, I'm not sure what we have available yet this year. I do happen to have week 4 inventory right here in front of me, so I'm just going to flip through it real quick. And we do have, it looks like some, we might have some partials in lettuce, maybe some peppers, and maybe tomatoes, but it's early in the season, it would be really slim pickings. Like right now, the vegetables is probably one page put together out of our inventory, so, and I do see some stuff that we probably had to substitute, so I doubt there's very many partials or surplus trays available. But yeah, we will be having those pretty soon. Well, that is all that I have for this week. So I want to tell you all to keep growing. But on the way out, I'm going to end this week with a video that I actually shot last week. So over on X, formerly Twitter, um, we can now go live over there and broadcast live from the greenhouse. So on alternating weeks on Thursdays, I'm going to try to do Twitter on odd weeks and then Instagram on even weeks. And the thing that I'm doing is on Twitter, most of our followers, or well, X now, most of our followers are commercial customers. So I'm gearing my live greenhouse walk more toward our commercial customers on X. And then on Instagram, that's more toward the retail side of our business. So I thought I would share that video. If you have an X account or you're interested in it, jump on over there and find us at Bob's Market. And, well, as I said, until next time, keep growing. Hi, John Morgan here with Bob's Market and Greenhouses. And today I'm out here in the greenhouse to do something a little bit different. I thought I would jump on live on X here and give you a little tour of the greenhouse and what's happening out here. So a lot of times, or a lot of our followers on X are other wholesale customers and growers. So yeah, I thought I'd give you a little behind the scenes look. But hey, if you're not another greenhouse or a grower, feel free to jump in with your questions. What we do here is kind of unique. We're a young seedling grower. And what we specialize in is flowering plants and vegetable seedlings. So let me flip the camera around so you can see what I'm talking about. So right now I am standing in Bay 21 South in this greenhouse that we call Driving Range 1. And that's because back in the day, this range of greenhouses actually was a golf course driving range before Bob's Market bought it. But right now I am walking through, this is all pansy seedlings. So these will probably be transplanted and growing out to be for sale later this spring. But a lot of these will go to other wholesale growers that will transplant them, and then they'll end up at places like Home Depot or your local independent garden center. If we get down close here, this is Delta Mix Monet, and these are shipping out in week 3, so around January 15th. And they were sown on week 49, so that was around December 4th. But this tray, it is a 288. So it has 288 seedlings in it. And actually a little bit more than that, because right here on the tray, it has a little M, which for us, that denotes multi-sowing. So they actually put multiple seeds per cell. And like right here, you can actually see 2 little pansies that have sprouted in 1 cell. And we do that kind of depending on like the germination rate of the seeds. So this greenhouse, as I said, it's I'm in Bay, what is this, 21 South. This greenhouse has 24 bays, so right there's the other end of this greenhouse, and then on up the hill right here, right behind us, there's another greenhouse, and it has bays that run kind of perpendicular to this greenhouse. But from this end of the greenhouse to the far end down there in Bay 21 North, it is 630 feet long. And then each bay, I think, is around 30 feet wide. So we have basically a 300-foot bay on each side, and then a 30-foot walkway down the middle where we kind of haul stuff back and forth, and you can see the carts parked down through there that we haul product on. Now, this time of year, we're just starting to ramp up for our spring season. So most of this greenhouse is empty, and we don't want to have to heat this entire greenhouse. So what we do is down there, I think that's bay, let's see, 17, 16, 15. Between bay 14 and 15, we actually put up a plastic curtain to kind of seal off this section. So we're only heating about half of the greenhouse. And for us, that saves a lot of energy costs. And it's an older section of greenhouses here at Bob's. The technology in this section's a little bit older. For example, the lighting that we use out here is high pressure sodium lighting. In our newer greenhouses, we're switching to LED lights. So they're a lot more energy efficient, and you don't have like the ramp up time where like a high pressure sodium bulb has to warm up. LEDs are on instantly. And also with computers, we can program like the LED lights to kick on and off on set schedules. Alright, so that was a quick walk through the greenhouse here. What I'm planning on doing is doing an alternating schedule. So either on Thursday or Friday, depending on my schedule, I'm going to be going live like this out in the greenhouse, but I'm going to alternate platforms. So on the odd weeks, so weeks 1, 3, 5, and so on, I'm going to be here on X. On the other weeks, on the even weeks, so 2, 4, 6, 8, I'm going to be on Instagram. So you can find us over there. And if we get enough followers on TikTok, we'll start going live there also. But this way, it kind of gives a lot of our customers different ways to see what's happening in the greenhouse live. So I know on Twitter, or X, as it's now called, we have a lot of wholesale customers that follow us. So I'm going to gear this live stream more toward the wholesale side, where over on Instagram, we have more retail customers, because we also have 3 of our own retail locations. So on Instagram, it's going to be geared a little bit more toward the end consumer. This side, it's going to be geared a little bit more toward our wholesale customers. So, well, thank you for joining me. And until next time, as always, keep growing.